Hello, and thank you so much for joining us here at the Mamarose Show for a very important episode, Black Lives Matter. We are here in solidarity to support our Black brothers and sisters from all over the world and close to home. We are celebrating you, we are listening, we are caring, we are loving, and we are all here for you. I am so thankful to everybody who has come forth and joined us to make this episode possible. We have some incredible friends that have joined us from all over the world. We are celebrating our Black brothers and sisters. And I want to quote a very important quote that I have learned and gotten to know over the past several years. And I thank Brett Roelofs and Jack Donahue for writing it because it is very important in today's effort for celebrating our Black brothers and sisters. We must join our brothers, free of fear or pause. Leave behind our pleasures to embrace their righteous cause. Strengthening our sisters, we'll empower them with pride. We can make a difference if we gather by their sides. And that is exactly what we need to do, and we need to listen. I thank you all.
I was asked to say a few words about Black Lives Matter. First of all, for anyone who doesn't understand why there is offense taken when someone says all lives matter, of course they do. Of course they do. The point is that there's been so much continuing police brutality against Black lives that we are saying Black lives matter just as much. That could be the rest of the phrase. If you are not aware of some of the things going on, I would say educate yourself. Go look up Breonna Taylor. Go look up George Floyd and who he was and what kind of a man he was. Look up Ahmaud Arbery and his execution in the middle of the street that took 2.5 months for any charges to be filed at all. So these are the kinds of things, and that's just in the last few months, actually 3 months, and there are more. Those are just the ones we have absolute footage of, and enough is enough. So I would say if you want to educate yourself, that's a great thing. I would also say that to listen and hear from people of color. I have a huge LGBTQ friendship base from many years now, and I've listened and learned what it's like and what my brothers and sisters and transgender family go through. And listen. If you're not willing to listen, you will never learn, and you will just keep that narrow-minded focus that won't help you understand what's going on. If you'd like to donate, you can go all the way back to the NAACP. Some of the newer groups I have written down here, there's the New Georgia Project, Live Free, the Florida Restoration Coalition, Movement for Black Lives, and the Next Level Boys Academy. Check out these organizations, see if there's something you'd like to contribute to. One of my favorite is an organization I just decided to get very active with because of Archie Williams, who served 37 years for a crime he didn't commit. And that's the Innocence Project. So check those out. Be kind to people you don't understand, and hear their voices, and then join their voices. Speak up, stand up, speak up, stand up.
I just want to say to all of my Black and brown brothers and sisters that I am with you. I am with you. And I was talking to a friend of mine over the weekend who is a Black drag queen. And I just started crying because I was saying, I feel so helpless. I don't understand a lot of the pain, but I feel your pain and I want to be there for you, but I don't know what or how to be there for you. And really, I think one of the main things that would be very useful is discussion. Talk about it. It is not easy. There has been an underlying racism in this country, whether people admit it or not. And it is systematic. It is deeply ingrained in our system. And it has reached a boiling point. It is time now that we do discuss this. These are our fellow Americans. We're all Americans. And I just wish so badly that everyone could understand that and embrace that we're all family. We're all, whether you're white or black or Asian or brown or whatever, it's, you know, we're all in this melting pot called America. And we really need to unify and just kind of come to the realization that there is only one race, which is the human race. And that's what we need to embrace and join hands in moving forward. Culturally, we may be different, but again, we're all together. And there's power in unity. And rather than divide us and keep separated, we need to just kind of sit at the table and all talk and share our grievances, share our stories of life. I think that would be one of the most positive things that we could do, is to start talking about it and talk about it with each other. So again, I am with you. I see one America where we are all united, as in the United States of America. So let's get to work. It may not be easy, but I think it's time that we do that for our fellow Americans.
One of the most important things you can do right now to be a good ally is to listen. Don't react too quickly. Listen to your Black friends, listen to the Black community, listen to what they need for support right now.
Just because we have supercomputers at our fingertips, in our pockets, in the palm of our hands, does not mean we know everything, and does not mean we can understand a history that goes back hundreds of years, a history of oppression.
And in that history, remember that no one in the history of the world has ever gotten their rights by asking for them nicely.
At this juncture, it's critical that us of lighter skin, and that includes myself, that includes Chris as Latinos, that we analyze our privileges, call them out, think about how we walk through the world and how different it is for people of darker skin, for the members of the Black community. In that, remember and check the privilege that when an officer comes up to you, you don't feel like they might murder you.
Another big thing you can do is phone the D offices of these cases of police brutality and say that we as the public are not going to put up with it.
Pressure city officials to punish these officers who are abusing the power we, the people, have entrusted to them. That is the right thing to do, and these protesters are going out there and doing the right thing.
They're risking their bodies, they're risking their lives, and one thing you can do to support them is to donate to bail funds, because there are a lot of inappropriate arrests going on of innocent people protesting peacefully.
Please keep safe.
I'm coming to you live from Staten Island, New York. I am very proud to have been born and raised here. I live in what is considered the most diverse community in all 5 boroughs, and I'm very proud of that. Over in St. George, we've heard the protesters. We have seen them. We're supporting them. We want to send our love and let them know that they're not alone. As a member of the transgendered community, I certainly understand discrimination, but as a person of white privilege, I cannot pretend to know what that struggle is like. I can empathize and I can understand. But right now, most of all, what I can do is just simply listen. The transgender community, who are particularly members of color communities, also face a lot of discrimination. There's a lot of hatred, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of economic disadvantages. Many people are forced to sell their bodies just to survive. Unfortunately, this is a time where our president is not hearing us. But I want you to know, as the Black people have stood with me, as other people of color have stood with me, I stand with you, and you are not alone.
This mask is in support of Black Lives Matter and in support of the COVID-19 pandemic that's going on across the world, basically. And they are for sale. You can DM me at Ashanti Mozelle on IG. And you asked me to speak about the state of what's going on in the world. And I couldn't get my thoughts together enough to just speak them to you. I had to write them down, so bear with me. It's been an emotional time. I'm a man, I'm a Black man, I'm a Black gay man. I'm an artist, a creator, a creative. I am a designer. Have always been an advocate and a supporter of the under and misrepresented in America. I am the under and misrepresented in America. I've always maintained that my life's work, my work as an actor, a dancer, a writer, designer, and a stylist, that was my contribution to the cause. But there comes a time, the time being now, that I must use my voice and speak up about the injustices that are plaguing our community. Black Lives Matter is an all-inclusive movement, speaking out against the brutality of the police. And we have to be smarter, wiser, stronger, and steadfast in our beliefs that we can and will make a change and a difference. If we claim to have friends or family that are Black, that are LGBTQ, and you are in the community and you're on social media, you have eyes and ears and a comprehension of actions and words, so you know what's going on in the world. You understand the state of Black Lives Matter. And it's not to disparage or to say that white, brown, or yellow lives, or whatever color you identify as, that they don't matter, or that they're less than. It is to raise awareness of the Black lives that are subjected to scrutiny, ridicule, speculation, skepticism, stereotypes, fear, and judgment every day, all day. It's up to us as a community, as a culture, and as human beings of the human race to make a change. Positive, peaceful demonstrations, like the Black Cat demonstrations for the LGBTQ rights in 1966, or Colin Kaepernick kneeling down at the football games. They weren't hurting anybody. There was no violence, there was no aggression. And now you see what his message was about. We have to use our platforms to make a difference. I experienced and lived through the LA riots of 1992. I wasn't able to fully comprehend the magnitude of what was happening or the impact the looting and the fires and the fighting and destruction would have. But it wasn't the answer then, and it will prove to be the wrong decision for people who choose to participate in that behavior. It doesn't change anything, it doesn't help anything. And it's understandable to be angry and sad and disappointed, scared, frustrated. But Michelle Obama has this quote, and she says it all the time: when they go low, we go high. Dare to be vulnerable. Dare meaning dream above reality's expectations. And that's my message to the world. Thank you.
I do just want to say to my Black brothers and sisters that I am here for you if you need me. I want to listen. I want to learn. I want to support. I want to educate myself, and I want to educate others. I I want to be here if you need someone to listen to, someone to laugh with, someone to cry with, someone to support you in whatever. And if anyone is going out to protest and they need a contact or some kind of ride in and out, I am happy to supply an Uber. I'm happy to be your emergency contact in the city. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Everyone, just please be safe during these times, okay? Thanks.
Just wanted to put my 2 cents in about how all life matters, and especially Black life as well, that we should be able to walk down the street and not be worried about being harmed, hurt, judged, or made fun of in any way, shape, and form, and that we should all learn to respect one another, be able to be there and help each other as well, and that racist is not born or bred into, it is taught by ignorant people who are afraid of who knows what. But we should teach everyone to respect, honor, and learn from each other, not be judgmental, to be able to ask questions and learn and know that we can have fun no matter what. Thank you and much love, and hope that everyone stays safe and have a wonderful life.
I grew up in the 50s and 60s, so racism has been around for my entire life. I was alive when Martin Luther King was murdered, and countless others. The situation, the way that I see it, is that this problem with racism is systemic in the police force, and Black people are dying simply because they're Black, or people of color are dying simply because their skin is a different color. And it has to stop. The problem we have in the United States is that we don't have a leader. There's no leadership, and the GOP has no backbone. So what happens is that when we come against a pandemic or something like this, the president seems to throw gasoline on the fire, and he doesn't help at all. Also, he's quite a bully and openly racist. So what I see has happened is he's given people who have been quietly racist the opportunity to be vocally racist, because according to the president, this is okay. And so I think the reforms need to start with the police. And clearly it is something that has been going on for a long time and needs just to be fixed somehow. It's not going to be fixed by the president insisting that governors dominate the inhabitants of their state. It's not going to be fixed if the army is sent in against the people of the United States. That's just a bully trying to deal with a problem that he can't deal with. So the other thing I wanted to say is, that this isn't just a problem in the United States. We had riots in London in 2011. A Black man was killed in his car in North London in Tottenham, and it sparked riots around the country. But particularly in London, and like what we see on television, many parts of London were in flames. And what is really the saddest part of all of this for me is that the narrative gets taken away from the issue, which is racism, by people who are what's the word I want? That are rioting, that are looting, that are vandalizing, that are burning. That simply shifts the narrative away from what is most important, and that is dealing with systemic racism, which is pervasive in American culture and in American society, sadly, and is exemplified by the way the police treat people of color.
Hi, my name is Zola Powell, and I'm a drag queen here in New York City, activist and makeup artist. First off, I want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who is putting themselves out there, who are marching, who are speaking up, who are finally saying something about something that's been happening for so long, but now seems to be the time. Thank you very much for your time. And for those who are waiting for someone else to do it, or waiting to see what's going on, what are you waiting for? Like, really, what are you waiting for? Aren't your friends that you know worth it? Just asking. Anyways, I also want to point out something that's very important for you to know. It's that this is going to take the long haul. This isn't something that's going to change immediately. We have an administration in the office that is not interested in this. Historically and consistently through these past 3 years. Are you ready for the long haul? Are you ready to be uncomfortable for years? Because I can tell you, I've been very uncomfortable all my life. 56 years I've been uncomfortable and not trusting of the policies and the good faith of the United States. You can argue with me till the cows come home. I don't really care. But I have been untrusting. And I have very good reason to be. And I hope that you are ready to put yourselves on the line in ways that you never have. I hope that you are willing to be uncomfortable for a good amount of time. You do realize it's 400 years that we haven't had the equality that we deserve and that was promised to us in the Constitution. 400 years. That's not going to change immediately. That's not going to change overnight. And it may not change in the next 4 or 5 years. I mean, a miracle can happen. Could. But are you ready for the long haul? Are you ready to put your heart and soul into this fight? Because that's what we're going to need. We're going to need everything that you have. Thank you.
I want to talk with you about why queer people should stand in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. As queer people, we know what it's like to be bullied and to be mistreated for who we are. But I can't even begin to imagine what it's like to be treated that way for the color of my skin. Although I am a person of color, I am lighter skinned, and I fully acknowledge I have privileges because of that. The Black community has been mistreated ever since the first slave was kidnapped from their country and brought to this country to do forced labor and to face mistreatment by people who didn't speak their language. And then to face segregation, integration with very rough experiences in schools, police brutality, mass incarceration, and on top of all of that, intergenerational trauma, which is a very real thing. We know as queer people that things do get better, especially for our queer teens, but we have to let that better happen. Things will get better for the Black community, but we need to make that possible for the Black community. We need to not be the main voices of this movement, because they are the main voices of this movement, but they have not been listened to. So we need to make sure that they are listened to and that they are heard because they are angry. And it's okay to support this movement without condoning the violence. It's okay to say to people, although I don't like the anger that I'm seeing, I completely understand it. It's justified. The anger, the feeling, is more than justified. So I ask you to have hope. Stand in solidarity with our Black brothers and sisters, many of whose ancestors helped our own queer liberation movements. Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, you name it. The list goes on and on. It is possible to see a better tomorrow, but we have to make sure that we help those that want to see the better tomorrow.
My unique perspective on the past week's tragedies is it hits me pretty close to home because my life is predominantly surrounded by being immersed within communities of color. I live in the middle of the Bronx, actually the zip code with the highest number of COVID-19 cases, and yet we're lacking a lot of the testing availability. I work in the South Bronx as a teacher, and all of my students are students of color, and they're really feeling this. And Between my home, my personal life, my friends, my work, and just my general interest in learning how to be less of a white asshole, I think it's important that I just let you know that if you are also a straight, white, cisgender man, to open up yourself to just sitting and listening to communities of color, to the LGBTQ community. We are now in June. It is LGBTQ Celebration Month. To just listen, because now is not our time to speak up. We've been speaking up for millennia. Now's our time to listen and support everyone that we have silenced in the past because we would not stop talking. Thanks.
Focusing on violent protesting is not going to solve the racism issue that blacks face. And neither is only focusing on peaceful protesting. So we need to bring them both together. Because most times when people peaceful protest, it does not get people's attention. Because people are just thinking, they're just blacks protesting peacefully. Doesn't matter. But when we bring the violence in, it grabs people's attention. But there's also a message there too of people that are peaceful protesting, trying to show you that there's a lot of racism in America and things need to change. But when we only focus on just violent protesting, there's no time to make a message as to why things need to change. This is why Martin Luther King was able to give blacks freedom. He was peaceful protesting only, and there was other groups of blacks that only did violent protesting. With his peaceful message and people seeing the violent protest, it brings people in to actually show them that there's something going on here. But there has to be a message too in every protest. It can't just be going around burning buildings down. After all this protesting has settled down, there'll be a lot of people that'll have changed their views on how they see black people, and for the better. And now we just have to accept them. Because a lot of people, they get brainwashed when they're younger to be racist. Nobody's ever born racist. It's something that gets taught. So after all this protesting has decreased, we have to accept those people that are not racist anymore. Racism is not going to end in a couple of days or weeks or even a year. It's going to take time. Anything huge like this always takes time to resolve. So for now, we should just count our blessings of how far we have come over the years. Because blacks used to have no freedom. We used to be enslaved, no rights at all. We've come a long way as Americans.